Hey everyone, welcome to the Beyond podcast. I want to start 2025 by coming back to my purpose to help you feel less alone through stories of transparency, vulnerability, along with science backed tools, techniques, and education. This episode is a difficult but cathartic one to record. Let me start off by saying I am okay. I am in a place where I feel comfortable putting this experience into words and sharing them with you. So please don't sympathize. You don't need to feel sorry for me. I simply am shedding light to this in order to bring awareness, to educate, and to destigmatize, almost normalize mental health struggles. I hope it helps you or someone you know. Don't forget to share this. Education is powerful. Hi, everyone. You are listening to Beyond, and I'm your host, Dr. Flora. Listen, life is hard. You don't have to do it alone. As a mindset coach, physician, mom, and an infertility warrior, I have mastered techniques to help move you towards contentment and growth. I can't wait to go along with this crazy ass life journey with you while making sure you feel like your best self. This podcast is meant to have you feel unstuck from your rut and less alone. Let's do this. Okay, friends, I want you to imagine going about your day. You're going to work, taking care of your family, going to social gatherings. You're going to after school activities, celebrating holidays, special occasions. You're just going through the daily motion as we normally do. You're functioning. You get dressed, you show up, slap a smile on your face, laugh on cue because this is a necessity. Because the alternative is a deep fear of people finding out your secret, a deep fear of people finding out or realizing that a high functioning, successful badass of a woman is struggling, a deep fear of suddenly breaking down in front of your daughter, in front of your friends, her friends, acquaintances. Only the people that intimately know you can spot those subtle differences. You are slightly quieter, slightly more distant. You are avoiding calls, delaying text messages, slightly more irritable, snappy. To everyone else, they don't have a clue. That was me for the latter half of 2024. My entire being felt off until I received a diagnosis this fall. Major depression. I started to feel like I was stuck in a funk. I actually remember posting this on Instagram that I feel like I'm in a funk and I don't know why. And I'm going to start employing all of my mindset tools and techniques and try to unpack this. I started to feel this in the beginning of 2024 after major life changes kind of just hit all at once. My grandfather and my uncle passed away weeks apart from each other. I had admired my grandfather. He was an intelligent man dedicated to his family, and he was the caregiver for my grandmother who passed almost 10 years ago. After my grandmother passed away, he was diagnosed with dementia, and it had been really difficult to see the person we knew gradually disappear. Although I was heartbroken, I was just relieved he was able to rest in peace. My uncle, well, we were estranged. I'm still estranged from his immediate family. After I had Gia, I remember making a conscious decision that I did not want any form of their toxicity from him or his family to reach over to my family. So I cut ties. And to this day, no regrets about that decision. But either way, death is hard and complicated. He was a husband, a father, a grandfather. I felt the pain of his family And I felt the pain of my dad, who it was his brother. And even though it was a complicated relationship for all of us, it was also bringing up complicated feelings, and we were empathizing with his family. This all was happening while my father, an unimaginatively driven and motivated man, was hospitalized. He received a life changing diagnosis at the time. He really had been a medical mystery for about 2 years and was being faced with very life threatening, random things that were happening to him. And with three kids and their significant others also being in medicine, you can imagine how all of these life threatening incidents had caused a frenzy within the family. We were trying desperately to find answers. We were all on edge for such a long time. And at some point, we were just thankful he was alive, because any of those life threatening incidents, if not caught in time, could have killed him. I mean, I've seen it in my practice. But then the diagnosis came, and we were relieved that we could at least build a treatment plan around this. But I still remember, amid being hospitalized, receiving this diagnosis, he virtually attended his brother's funeral and then virtually attended his father's funeral, all from his hospital bed while battling his health. As the oldest daughter of a South Asian immigrant family, I really want to share my experience, my journey, and normalize that it is okay to feel down while others are also going through bad times. We oftentimes suppress our emotions because someone else's circumstances are looked at far worse. And yes, it is okay to acknowledge that and be grateful for what you have. But it is also okay to feel low. Don't gaslight yourself into not feeling what you're actually feeling. You can't invalidate that. It doesn't make things better. It just boils over in some way or form. And that's what had happened to me. I know at the time my dad was scared. We were all scared. My mom was exhausted from being the sole caregiver, going back and forth from the hospital, had a ton of emotional ups and downs. She's not in the medical field, so she was learning all of this on the go. I remember at that time feeling let down, anxious, scared about the unknown. I mean, we all know our parents aren't going to live forever. None of us do, but I don't know. We just see our parents as superhuman. And for that to hit as not being a reality so quickly, that was unexpected. And I think I had subconsciously imagined my parents would age gracefully and pass from old age. But having a life threatening disease, especially a rare one, really never came to the forefront of my mind, even though I work in the field and I'm surrounded by it. And to add to that, without getting into a terrible amount of detail because it's not fully my story to tell, there was just more family turmoil. My boundaries fell in the name of love, support, compassion, blood relatives. That led to a recurrence of traumatic experiences, having more boundaries broken, and also having my husband, my daughter affected in minor ways. If you guys have been following me on Instagram or listening to my podcast, you all know my boundaries are my backbone. This truly leads to my inner peace. And not holding them up broke me little by little. And it brought a little more turmoil into my family's life, which is obviously not my goal. Oh, in the same week of the diagnosis and family deaths, I launched this very podcast. I mean, cool, right? Everything was all okay, right? We just keep going, right? I'm a doctor. I'm a mindset coach. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm a daughter. I got all this. We're good. We're good. We're good. Okay, right? I'm good. I'm okay. So I kept going, podcasting, coaching, doctoring, mommying, and being the sounding board for my mom, who, like I said, was not in medicine, is not in medicine. And she was learning at a very impressive rate. Every little update, venting session, frustration from both of my parents went through me. And I would temporarily jump off of my own life's roller coaster and I would jump onto my parents. Every time my dad would be hospitalized, which at some point in time, it was every 3 to 4 weeks, I would go up and then down and just ride their roller coaster over and over and over again, just to eventually jump off of theirs and back onto my own, which was already crazy enough. You all know life doesn't stop lifing. And then I would continue to suppress over and over again because I was just running on adrenaline. I kept going, podcasting, coaching, doctoring, momming, repeat. I ignored it all. The pain, the grief, the trauma, that low grade, constant, unsettling feeling because I wanted to just keep going. Being a primary care physician, common mental health disorders walk through my door every day. I see this in my medical practice. I see this in my patients. I oftentimes see this before they see it themselves. I'm even known to make a lot of my patients cry because I can see when they are not themselves. And I ask them very point blank questions about their mood, their well being, their happiness, because no one else has, including themselves. It's like struggling patients at that time need a way to release after putting up a facade for themselves and everyone else for so long. They needed to hear that they are in a safe place with a trusted expert to just tell them it's okay. I see you. There is help. You will feel better. We will get through this. I will help you. I didn't seek that for myself. I mean, I kind of saw it, but then again, I didn't. I saw the signs and symptoms, but you all know, and it's obvious, it's difficult to recognize your own signs of imbalance because they are so subtle. It's like lurking in the corner, it's slowly creeping in. And it, again, slightly affects your thoughts and behaviors in the beginning, slightly making it hard to objectively assess your own state. And life keeps going, so you keep going. I was so quick to make those feelings my norm, those subtle ups and downs. And I would attribute these symptoms to other factors like trauma, stress, health issues. I mean, those are actual stressors, and that could throw anyone for a loop. But in me, it led to a denial or almost like a lack of awareness about how severe it was getting. Essentially, I became this distorted version of myself, making excuses for my mood and for my well being. And I was normalizing them without recognizing them as, well, not being normal. Then a whole series of other things hit me. I all of a sudden started having trouble sleeping. All of a sudden having really severe mood lability. I started having night sweats, hot flashes, constipation, reflux, nausea, skin changes, hair loss. I mean, what the fuck was happening? I felt like I was losing my mind. My medical brain was working overtime. My non-medical brain was just spiraling. Like, shit, what was happening? In desperation and thank goodness and gratitude, I went to colleagues with my symptoms. We had evaluations and procedures. I went to specialists. I got labs done, mostly normal. I started to do my own research. I found perimenopause and menopause. These are things that we don't learn about in medical school because there just wasn't enough focus on women going through this transitional major life change. I became obsessed with newer studies, although small, newer data, although small, and research of what was happening. And then I moved forward because that's what I do to become a menopause certified practitioner. Yes, yet another thing that I added to my list while I was going through this shit show. I don't know why I do this to myself, but remember, I wasn't thinking clearly and I wasn't thinking straight. I was suppressing and I was just chugging forward. I normalized all of these abnormal feelings. And amid all of this, I passed my exams because I felt the strong need to not only help myself, but deliver this education and this message to help not only my patients, but you all going through the same thing. So, as an aside, more perimenopause, menopause information coming through my Instagram and the podcast. But let's get back to the story here. Amid all of this, I started to have more lows. There was this deeper, nagging, indescribable darkness that led to more couch time, more TV binging, more mindless scrolling, more napping, more comparing, more doubting. I was letting go of higher level tasks. I was falling behind. And more importantly, I stopped caring. Now, I could doctor, put on scrubs, go to clinic, see patients, come home. That was quote unquote easy. That was on autopilot. It's everything else that fell to the side. And then it happened. I was driving on a beautiful sunny afternoon, ironically, to a massage therapy appointment. There was a curve in this road, and a fleeting thought passed. What if I just drove straight into that tree? Like, what? And those fleeting thoughts then started to pop up more frequently. I mean, while I was talking to patients, while I was talking to my daughter, while I was alone, while I was trying to go to sleep, in my sleep, I was having dreams. What if I just wasn't here? Gia and Sanjay would be okay. Would anyone really care if I left? What am I doing here? Alive? Like, I don't belong here. You guys, this scared the shit out of me. The fact that my family, my immediate family, my husband and my daughter were not enough to keep these thoughts away, I didn't even know how to think about that. I just knew it wasn't right. Before I knew it, I was waking up constantly every day with this sense of dread, just internal happiness. Before I knew it, I was waking up in tears. I didn't know why. I was unable to get out of bed. Before I knew it, I was depending on my husband to walk me through the basics. He would say to me, Flora, first step, let's just sit up in bed. Great. Now swing your legs around and stand up. Amazing. Let's go brush your teeth. Good. You got that done. Why don't we go shower? No, you don't feel like showering? Okay, well, fine. Why don't we change your clothes? All of this was happening every day while I was just crying. I had no idea why. I just knew this wasn't me. Being a mindset coach, I mean, I pride myself in mastering coping strategies and techniques. I employed all of my tools when this funk started. I took lots of breaks. I was off of social media. I took distance from things that and people that triggered me. I was talking it out with my friends, with my family, with Sanjay. I was taking time away from work, vacations. I mean, yeah, 2024 hit hard with everything that I had described. I mean, in addition to family illnesses, deaths, additional projects to fulfill my purpose, there was a rift between me and some family members. Boundaries went up, but in the wrong places. I just, what was happening? I just kept asking myself, who have I become? I don't recognize this. And why is this happening? In a matter of 6 months, I tried to move forward, but all of that trauma stayed and it manifested physically and into all of those lows and thoughts. This was major depressive disorder. That was my diagnosis. And to be even more specific, I was described as high functioning depression. No, that's not a clinical diagnosis, but it's a characteristic of so many of us who are struggling with major depressive disorder. It's a hidden struggle, one that often goes unnoticed by partners, friends, and even yourself, because from the outside, you are doing everything and everything seems fine and explainable. But 2024 was difficult. I was jumping onto everybody else's roller coasters while riding my own. And on the flip side, there were so many good things going on. The Beyond podcast launched, momentum was being gained, guest episodes were being introduced. I was continuing to coach clients. I got my certificate for being a menopause certified practitioner. I was putting myself out there to continue to build, help, inspire, be all the things to everyone personally and professionally. Looking back, I know when things started to change. They were subtle, obviously explainable given everything that I talked about. I was employing all my coping strategies. I got through them, but I kept chugging forward until I wasn't. Until I wasn't. All of this prompted me to reach out to a therapist and a psychiatrist. As an aside, I do want to make this distinct separation. A licensed therapist, although essential, are not physicians. They cannot prescribe medication. A psychiatrist is a physician specializing in mental health. So, deep inside, amid all the muck, I knew I need medication. Like this wasn't just, oh, a lot happened and I was having trouble coping. Like I was a different person. This was more than simply life is hard. This was life is hard and there's a chemical imbalance and I am not Flora. It was like this out of body experience. And the biggest struggle of all was coming to terms that I am a high functioning, badass boss woman. And here I was just doing the bare minimum, literally waking up, going to clinic, eating, maybe, sleeping, maybe, and repeat. I even remember I had started therapy at this point in time, and I hadn't seen a psychiatrist yet. And my 40th birthday party was planned in mid-November. My birthday is October 1st, but because of a bunch of obligations, we decided to push the party and the celebration to mid-November. I remember walking into my birthday party and looking at this beautiful setup. And I remember knowing that what I wanted, what I envisioned for my birthday was executed. And my friends showed up and the vibes were right on. But it was like this person on the outside kind of looking down through like a microscope into this party. Like I knew things were perfect and I was having fun. But then I also had this like deep internal sadness and I didn't know why. I did know why. I was depressed, but I couldn't marry the two. I was verbalizing and feeling grateful, but that wasn't hitting my core. I don't know how else to describe it, but that's what depression is. But therapy helped me let go of my ego and be okay with sitting in the shit, like my therapist told me. She told me to sit in the shit and be okay and know that there's hope. Let's fast forward a month. I met with a wonderful psychiatrist who agreed that I needed medication. And since then, you guys, I have felt almost a reversal in my symptoms. I know I'm not out of the woods. I'm still going to therapy. However, the desire to never, ever feel like that low again has pushed me to continue therapy and be my badass self and deliver you this message, this awareness, this education. There can be multiple things that are true at once. I'm back, Flora. I'm myself again, and I'm continuing to heal. I'm back. I'm this high functioning, yes, badass woman, and I have treated depression. I am a mindset coach, a doctor, a podcast host, a mom, a wife, a daughter, a sister, and I have help. Remember, admitting to these two things being true at the same time does not lessen or negate your worth. And I hope by sharing my experience, it continues to break down the stigma surrounding mental health. And I hope it continues to educate you, and you take that education and continue to spread this awareness. I mean, this is the reality of being human. There are ups, there are downs. It can feel messy. It's unfair at times. It most certainly isn't this beautifully curated highlight that we share on social media, or the quick glimpses of, perfection that maybe you get into others' lives just in passing. Now you are able to see, I hope, more sides of me and my story. And most importantly, this is a new mantra of mine. I would love for you to adopt it as well. Be kind to yourself. Healing is forever. If you resonate with this, please know that you're not alone. There are people who care about you and want to help. I care about you and I want to help. And even though I may not be your doctor, I have resources that can help you. And I'm going to post all of this in the podcast information page for you. Please share this episode with someone who needs to hear that they're not alone. Please share this episode to someone that is struggling. Please share this episode, even if you don't know anyone struggling. If you aren't struggling, please share just to spread awareness about mental health struggles and break down the stigma that we have as a society, but especially in our South Asian society. I would love to hear from you. Please DM me over Instagram at Dr. Flora Sinha. You can email me at florasinhamd@gmail.com. I know a lot of my newsletter subscribers have already read a lot about this, but just thank you for listening. Thank you for your support, and thank you for your kind words. I'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you so much for joining and spending your precious time here with me. As someone who prioritizes her energy, I am so grateful that you chose to spend yours here. To help me help you, please take an extra 30 seconds of your time to rate and review the podcast on your listening platform. For more tips and a behind-the-scenes look into my life, follow me on Instagram at Dr. Flora Sinha. That's Dr. Flora Sinha. Finally, connecting with you truly fills my cup. So DM me on Instagram, email me at florasinhamd@gmail.com, repost if you love this episode. I love hearing from you. I am so grateful for you and cannot wait to be back for the next episode. Bye.